How's it going, guys? Today I'll be comparing the iPhone 11 versus the Pixel 4a. Now, I already compared this phone to the iPhone SE, the budget model, but in this one, of course, it's the flagship versus budget, and it really comes down to what ecosystem you really like. So if you're open to either or, I hope you guys enjoy this video. So all these talking headshots will be coming from the phones itself, so I'll put it on screen. Also, the audio is coming from the Rode Wireless, so I will be actually comparing the microphones on the phones during the camera section. Now for hardware, the quality on the iPhones are really good across the whole board, even on their budget models. The Pixel 4a and the iPhone 11 designs are more on the minimal side, but I do prefer the matte finish on the Pixel 4. And since I do have smaller hands, the Pixel 4a is way more comfortable and easier for me to hold. With the bigger form factor on the iPhone 11, I noticed that my hand positions do shift around a lot more just to reach across the screen. The iPhone 11 does have Face ID, and that experience has been the best on all phones I've used. But times like this when we're all wearing masks, it's so much easier or faster and convenient just to use a fingerprint sensor instead. For the button layout, I am a fan of the Pixel 4a. All the buttons are on the same side, and of course the fingerprint sensor on the back is really easy to access. I do find myself accidentally screenshotting on iPhone 11, which does get pretty annoying from time to time. And for storage, the Pixel 4a is double the size, so if you want to even out the specs, then you would have to pay more for that. Now in terms of performance, of course the iPhone 11 is going to be the winner. It does have a way more powerful chip compared to the budget one on the 4a, but for everyday use, it feels really similar. The only time where I feel like the 4a is kind of sluggish is when I'm using a lot of apps or opening a lot of apps, multitasking at the same time, which I really do, or I'm really in that situation. But when that happens, I start to see more of the sluggishness, and I see a bit more lag on 4a. But in terms of everyday use, you're completely fine. So basically what this all means is that if you are a heavy smartphone user and play a lot of heavy graphic games, then of course the iPhone 11 will give you the better experience. Now for battery life, both of these phones can get me through the day easily. Now on the iPhone, it has gotten me up to 2 days, but remember, I am a casual user. So if you do want a longer lasting phone, then the iPhone 11 is gonna be your winner. Also, the iPhone 11 does have wireless charging, which is my preferred way to charge it, just because I just don't like using the lightning cable. It's just something extra, and all of my devices are USB-C. Now moving on to the software, this one is really subjective, so it's kind of pinpoint which one is better, because it really comes down to what you prefer. But I will say, if you are open to using Android UI, the one on the Pixel is very clean and smooth, very easy to use. Now using the Pixel UI, you do get more freedom than the iPhones, but it's not as overwhelming as Samsung's. So if you're coming from an iPhone thinking about getting an Android, I think the Pixel UI is something easy to start with. Now I do use a lot of Google apps, so my experience is a bit more cleaner on that side, but ever since iOS 14 came out, it fixed a lot of issues. Now I can get rid of the Apple bloatware off my home screen, and of course, I can take advantage of more of the space, because usually I would put a lot of the useless apps on top of the screen because I can't reach up there. So now I can put widgets up there and have more of my used apps near the bottom. So I would say a lot of things fixed on iOS 14, and both systems or both UIs has been really evened out for me. I would say the only big advantage on the Pixel that I do like is that I can move the apps anywhere I want. It's not like on a locked grid system and I can just leave it empty space. So if I know I don't use any of the apps, I can just keep it clean. I can just have 2 apps I want on the home screen, unlike the iPhone. But you know, that's really small and kind of personal preference. So it depends what you really like. So this is the microphone comparison between the Pixel 4a and the iPhone 11. Now for the cameras, the iPhone 11 has 2 cameras on the back, the ultra wide and the regular one, whereas on the Pixel, it's only 1 camera lens. Moving on to video, for stabilization, I'm going to give it to the Pixel 4a. It seems a bit smoother, whereas on iPhone 11, you can see a little bit more of the handheld movement. For the colors, on iPhone, the green seems to pop a bit more, but other than that, it seems more flat than the Pixel, whereas on Pixel, there's a lot more contrast and just a bit more saturation. For HDR, I'm going to give it to the iPhone. I can clearly see better in the shadows, or it's more exposed in the shadows than on the Pixel 4a. The iPhone can shoot in the ultra wide angle lens. It got 4K 60, 4K 24, so there's a lot more modes on the iPhone if you'd like to shoot video. On the Pixel, the max you can shoot up to is 4K 30. Now for low light, I would say the Pixel is a bit worse on stabilization than the iPhone 11. You can see it jerk more often while I'm walking. Also, the highlights are more exposed on the iPhone than the Pixel 4 as well. As for micro jitters, you can see them on both, but because of the jerkiness on the Pixel 4a, you can see it more often. For portrait mode, front-facing camera is really good on both, so I'm not going to complain on either or. Now for the back camera, my biggest complaint is how zoomed in the Pixel 4 is in portrait mode. On the iPhone 11, you can get away with even in tight spaces. But for the background, I will give it to the Pixel 4a just because it looks like it's more compressed, just like an actual portrait lens. For the portrait mode experience, the Pixel is going to be the winner for me because it's point and shoot. It's super easy, whereas on the iPhone, you would have to move around until it registers or you can see the portrait effect working on your screen. Now for everyday situations, the iPhone 11 is going to be more useful in tighter spaces because of the ultra wide angle lens. And since they both don't have a telephoto lens, when you zoom all the way in, the pictures do look more digitized. But for the overall quality, both do take really good pictures. They're very close to each other. I would say one of the differences is the HDR. The Google Pixel software really helps out with that, so I would say it does have an advantage. For nighttime, I would avoid using the ultra wide angle lens because it's not as sharp and it just doesn't look as good. So I would just stick with the main camera lens, and one thing I noticed is the sky seems to be much more cleaner on the iPhone than the Pixel. For night mode, it seems like the iPhone 11 does have a more exaggerated look to it, whereas on the Pixel, it's a bit more natural. In the end, the Pixel 4a is a great choice if you need a phone that works for the next couple of years. It takes very good pictures, very easy to use, and basically can do all the simple things you throw at it. The iPhone can last many years beyond the Pixel 4a, so for the higher price, I think you can justify it. From the quality to the long software support, I feel like if you can take care of your phone really well, it's a very good long-term investment. In the end, you can't go wrong with getting either or. It really depends on what ecosystem you really like. So that is my comparison. Let me know which one works best for you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. You can find me on Instagram, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. You can find the links down below if you guys are interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.